by a whole lot, I don't actually have a problem with that either. But to shrink lots and not think about the future, no, I don't. I don't like that idea at all. There's also the situation of green space behind places. I don't know what the rules are for that, but if we don't have them, we should set rules and everybody follows what those rules are. If they're not part of future expansion, then okay, if we agree that this is a reasonable thing to do, then let's allow it. And if we don't, then let's not. Let's not do exceptions. I think that, time up? Okay, sorry.
No, you can finish your thought. You're welcome.
My idea would be more to the future expansion of town. I really believe that this town is going to have an expanded future outside of the mines, but we still need the mines. So I want the space for the people.
Everybody's been using Crown land for so many years now. I don't know if they want to pay for it, you know. So that's probably one of the problems with lot expansion. But yes, when there's definitely a lot that's someone wants to it only takes a part of it. I don't agree with that. If it's in green space that the council's decided that a portion of that green space can be used, I would probably go along with something like that. I don't see a big problem with lot expansion. I know down in Peace River there's a few people that have expanded their lots. I don't know what the cost is, but it depends on how much you want. Would be 50 grand, I don't know. I'm for it.
Hi, Maxine. I would say that I'm in favor of lot expansion. I know when we moved here, we would have liked to have had an acreage, and I know that's something that Councillor Howe has been working on. I would agree with what everybody else has said as well. Like, there's got to be some rules around it, and so I'm curious as to why like, it sounds like you know people who've been allowed to have expansion and people who haven't. So I would be interested in knowing why the difference as well. I would say, like Ron, like, if we're going to have one, it needs to be consistent. If that's the policy, then everybody should have that opportunity. You know, I know some people don't because they don't have any, you know, they don't have empty lots beside them or whatever, right? But if you have that opportunity to expand, what does that look like? And it should be a fair playing field. I don't think that it should be, you know, and maybe we have to look at another town plan. I don't know, like Don said, like, I know that the original plan for the town was specific, and it was, people who know more than me would be able to tell you there's a name for it and whatever, but it's still, if we're going to let one person do it, we can't just be narrowing the field on that.
This question is for the mayoral candidates. What is your vision for how the museum fits into the new 10-year community plan, and how do you plan to help achieve that vision?
I worked with the museum a lot when I was as mayor, and it's a very important part of this town. There's been a lot of work put in by a lot of people that I support the museum, and I'm not sure what you're talking about, but I support the funding of the museum. We had a referendum at the last election, and the town came out in favor of funding the museum. So I'm all for it, and there's a lot of people that visited this town because of the museum, and I'm sure I'm hoping it's going to be there for a long time, and maybe in a nicer building. I don't know.
So I'm just going to pigtail off of Don that I believe that the museum is a very important part of all our culture and our town. I believe in funding it, and we'd work towards continuing.
Yeah, I actually sit on as the liaison for the museum. 100% support it. I mean, it's a part of the gem of our community. I mean, they've worked side by side with the Geopark in the last little while, and to me, they've gone stronger. Both groups have made a really strong bond together. Both boards are working together. We got a board member from the Geopark sitting with the museum, and one of the board members from the museum sitting on the Geopark. So to me, they definitely work together as a team, and it's not geoparks here and the museums here, they've gotten right together. I mean, we see the new trailer that was donated by the museum, and the geopark has done the rent out to it. Hopefully, we'll make it around the piece a little bit more in 2023 than it did in 2022. But for funding, 100% fund it. I mean, I'll mention to the people here, I would hope everybody is reading it. But the PRRD is going to be doing a referendum as well in the election this year. And to me, the support is there's going to be 3 questions on there, my apologies. One's going to be for supporting the museum through the PRRD, and the other one's going to be supporting the geopark through the PRRD. And then there's going to be the one for sports and culture. And that'll be for everybody. That's not just for the hockey in Dawes Creek that people are talking about. That's why they've changed the name from Hockey Canada to sports. Sorry, lost the word, but yeah, I 100% support it. I think we got to keep building on it, and there's more that can be done from the district side too. I don't ever think the district should stop funding it. We've seen the referendum, seen the support, and I know, and I mean, I'll take blame for that. I was on council when we went to a referendum, so again, you take the digs and you take the honor when it comes, and I was one that we put it to the referendum.
So I have a question in regards to the childcare in Tumblr. I know a lot have spoken to the needs of childcare, so I would like to not hear from Daryl or Chris on this, because I believe that they kind of know the understanding of it, but it's just a quick question. If you personally know the struggles of our current daycare in town, and that's for everyone.
Who'd like to start?
Thanks. Yes, childcare has become quite a struggle in town, and I don't know what the answer is. I have to say, as a school trustee, I see the issue with teachers' health care and daycare. We need to find out what the issue is. This isn't new. This is ongoing, and I continue to see it ongoing. Except we have to figure. So for me, I look at it like I don't want to fix the kitchen sink if the bathroom sink is leaking. So I think that, and I also don't believe that money creates a person. And so I think that we need to, as a community, show our folks how much we appreciate them. People maybe don't realize some of the issues because we have such great people working in our healthcare and our schools and our daycare, but you can only do that so long. And offhand comments don't always help, when people have an opinion. I also feel, as a parent, I'm aware that sometimes parents are the biggest problem. Like, we all like to think that we're amazing parents. Sometimes we need to be aware of. Anyways, I could go on for hours on this. I totally am aware, Becky, and I have 30 seconds yet. Good. I am, and I just feel like it's a bigger problem than just we don't have the people here. I think it's something that's been ongoing, and I continue to see it ongoing, but it affects every other industry in town, because then we don't have, the wife doesn't, so if there's a parent that wants to work, that parent can't work, and then that will make people move on. So yes, it affects every industry. So honestly, daycare really is kind of the top of the list, because it just trickles down and our other people get hit.
About 7 or 8 years ago, I asked for the financial statements for daycare. At that point, there was a lot of minors in town and a lot of people in town. And I looked at it, and it was mostly redacted, but I saw the total of $750,000 on the redacted financial statement. So I started asking questions. I mean, how much were you paying people and stuff like that? And they said, well, $150,000. It didn't make any sense to me. So I want clarity when they do things like this. I want to make sure that these operations are straightforward and that we have the proper financial statements from.
Okay, as I heard your question, have I personally had to use a daycare in town? No, my youngest is 9, so I did not have that. However, about 7 years ago when she was not 9. My wife was doing her PhD and I was working full-time. So we could not have done that without daycare, and we were fortunate to find that. So as Roxanne said, it leads to everything. We bring up healthcare staff, we bring up school staff, we bring up, it just affects everything. We just need to do it. Do I have a solution immediately? No. I'm gonna have to research that. But I know that there's a certain certification needed. I think we need to be prepared to at least front that money to get people that would be dedicated to it. And I also know there's a secondary certification, and I think we need to we don't need one, if we need one, we need two, and so on and so forth. Like, we need to staff properly, we need to have them be able to take the breaks when they need them. We need to take this seriously, and I think that's what I'm
Are we ready? Are we ready? We good, Aaron? We are. Thanks, folks. Appreciate your patience. Connectivity is always an issue in remote areas and rural areas, isn't it? So we're going to go back to questions. We are getting through the evening quite nicely. I have a couple questions that Jerry Lynn just passed on, and they're more Chamber of Commerce, more business related questions, and they're for every candidate at the front. And so the first question is around economic development and the need to diversify economies, global workforces, how do you recruit and retain staff from and employees from around the world, as well as industry or business. So really curious what each of you think economic development means and what it means to this community and what that would look like in terms of diversified economies. And anybody could start. Daryl, would you like to start? Thank you.
There you go. Yeah, I probably have a loud enough voice, but guess where he is in this. Economic development and diversification. I mean, I believe it's been started with having oil and gas. Obviously, we have the mine. Tourism is another one. Like we you know the geopark and with the museum. I mean, they've really see strong numbers in the people that come to our community. And so there's another one. So we need to we just need to keep building on tourism, more wind. I know. I heard. Oh, they're not going to call for more wind, but by 2030, they already say they're going to not have enough power in British Columbia for the British Columbians. That's 2030, and that's even with Site C coming on. So to me, I would say they're going to call for wind eventually. I mean, I would hope when Site C is done, we see more windmills, especially in the Tunbridge area. I mean, not everybody's for wind. I think it's a great another value to our community. To have windmills in our area. I mean, we tax base it off it, but it's environmental as well. It's a natural resource. And then economic development. I think we got to show that our doors are open and build on that and try to attract businesses that are needed within our community. We have a new doggy daycare / dog kennel coming to the Tunbridge area. It'll be out in the heavy industrial area. But there's other things we need. We do need, there's more shops that need it, and we need some, basic clothing shops. So again, I think it's council's job to reach out, build those partnerships, advocate for people to come to our community. I've owned a business in Tunbridge for 15 years. That's what brought me here, was buying that business. And I mean, my business has done well, and I think we can show that.
So I definitely believe that we need to bring more economic diversity to our town. I did a Google search of the top 10 fastest growing industries, and that included manufacturing, artificial intelligence, data science and analytics, biomedical, biotechnological, mental health, tourism, hospitality, and renewable energy. These are things that we can look into alongside of a whole lot of other industries. We need to show how shiny our town is, bring them in, and have people work them.
Well, I think one of the big things for this town is that high-speed internet to bring business in. And it's pretty hard to run a business now without the internet. So I think that's got to be something that got to go ahead. The other thing is this banks with the red flag. I mean, they do. It's hard to get a business loan. I mean, I know I came to this town to run this Shell service station. I couldn't have even started without a good bank behind me, and I don't know how some of these people do it. And talking to these banks. I mean, they make tons of money off us, and yet they put a red flag on Tunbridge. Well, Canuma's been in business now for I think 7 years. That's a big deal, and we got 3 other idling mines. Price of coal is through the roof. We're in a good spot here, and I really like the idea of the wind towers too, because I know there's 4 shovel-ready areas that are due to, as soon as they get a contract to build wind towers. So, you know, it's hard for council. You got to keep the conversation open with these companies. You got to try and do everything you can for these companies. I keep talking about myself here, but I got an award from Canuma Coal for their startup, and I just was there when they asked me to talk to people. I did, and I just promoted them, and that's what you got to do with these other guys. You know, it's a lot easier for a local government to talk to the province or the regional district than it is for that company sometimes. So, okay.
Thank you. So, economic development is something that I've always been focused on, even coming into council 4 years ago. I think it's not a one answer solution. I think we have to take a multi-pronged approach. I think it's important to grow small businesses within our community, because I think it's easier to, well, I don't know if I'd say it's easier, but I like the idea of trying to support our local businessmen and artisans to grow into the marketplace. I know the Chamber of Commerce is trying to work on that as well. And I think we need to support a strong Chamber of Commerce to be our local businesses' voice, to tell us what to do, or give us ideas so that we can advocate for them. I also think it's important to attract industry. Now, part of that is just being open for business. We as a council need to recognize some of the barriers that industry has when moving into communities. We need to let them know about the opportunities that are available. We also need to make sure that the permitting process and zoning processes are quick, and there's a group of people that are willing to work with them to achieve their success. And I think that that's something that we can do. With the wind energy in our region, there's a lot of ancillary business or rollover business from clean energy that I think is a great opportunity for some industries. I've been speaking with residents about potential hydrogen plants. I mean, we can't open a hydrogen plant. I had to explain that, but that's an example of an industry that needs clean energy from the start to operate. So we have opportunities there, and yeah, so I think there's a multi-pronged approach. Having a good economic development office to assist our small businesses to be successful, offer training, and training, I think, through digital means as well. Like high-speed internet is crucial to get into the market, to the digital marketplace, to advertise, because that's where people are learning about your businesses, online.
Okay.
Yeah, well, with what I know about windmills and that they're only 27% efficient. In other words, they only generate power 27% of the time. So if we're looking at that to gain a big power increase in BC, it's not going to happen. But I can see that other dams are going to be built because that's the cheapest way to go for power. And probably one will be on the Liard River because that's the one that BC Hydro planned back in the 70s. So with economic development here in town, I think we're on the right direction with that. The council has moved quite a bit forward on that in the last couple of years, 3 years. But it's really hard for a company to come in and start any kind of a business. Like the banks want 50% down on anything. I know people that have tried to sell their properties in town, businesses, and they haven't been able to sell them because the people haven't been able to get the down payment. And generally when somebody's trying to start out, it's pretty hard to come up with 50%, especially $500,000 or something like that, right? So I think we just have to keep plugging away at it, and that's all we can do. This is one of the places where it's just mostly mining. So we have to change that, try and change that, get some diversity here. Thank you.
As most people know, I can really harp on an issue, but until we find some daycare, we definitely have a problem there. We also are really unique in the fact that you don't come to Tumbler Ridge unless you come to Tumbler Ridge. So when people say, I think I've been through Tumbler Ridge, I say, no, you haven't. You know if you've been here. And so that brings in to mind that we need to do more local support with business, I think. I think that people come and they forget that we have businesses that bend over backwards for you. Like our hardware store, you go in there and you talk to them guys, they'll bring in what you need. Amazon's gotten really easy to click and buy, and we have an amazing post office, so I mean it's easy peasy. Except if we can't prove to businesses that this is a place where you will be supported, we already have too many red marks against us, because the mines are going to come, the mines are going to open, the mines are going to close. That's just economics, and I would bet Ron would agree with me. So it's about us in town supporting the folks that we do have as much as possible, because I know from my experience in my 11 years, if I've gone to a business owner, whether it was the grocery store or hardware, they've accommodated what I've needed. And so I think that that's really important, to remember that we're unique, and so those things are going to change. You can't pay somebody to come here, in my opinion, because that doesn't make sense. So then you've given them your money, but there's nothing to keep them here unless you've signed a contract or something. So the natural resources like mining, they open their businesses here because the coal's here. So I'd love to give a more rosy answer, but I think it has to start with us here in town.
Thank you. Ron?
So I'm going to stand up because I've been sitting for over an hour and Chris was talking about my height, so here I am. Okay, so Roxanne is absolutely right. I absolutely agree with her. We have some just core issues that we need to deal with before we can even get to the diversity. Housing, childcare, so we're going to leave that aside for now. Though I am glad to say I have something unique to say. Remote workers is something that this town can benefit greatly from. I know for us, the play where you work thing is huge, even though most of my friends think are crazy. They just don't have the opportunity with the nature of their work to do that sort of thing. But it's getting bigger, which means, as I've heard all down the line here, we need our fiber optic line one way or another, whether that's through a rural thing that I heard about on the side. However it needs to get done, it will need to get done in the next 5 years or so, because our capacity on DSL and the other technologies is just not going to keep up. Short version, diversification is absolutely necessary. The words were said, the mines boom and they bust. And right now we're in an okay spot, but if steel manufacturing goes down for a couple of years and we need to build capacity back in North America, if China fails, we're going to have a hard time for a while. And I'm glad we have a surplus on hand, because we're going to need it for that time. But the sooner and the broader the diversification, the sooner we recover. And whether it's a different material than coking coal, whatever we have in the mountains here, I'm sure we can work on that. But I think if we have a larger base outside of pure resource extraction, we'll be better off. So that is not a next 2 years or next 3 years thing, that's the next 10 years thing, which means we need to start now with getting that internet up, getting those rural plots if we can do it. I'd like you to have your acreage. I was thinking about, I would have loved that too when we were moving. But that's just fundamental to what I think this town needs to do, is to start to diversify. We have lots of great people in town, and I want you to do what you want to do, and we should support that.
Thank you. And our last speaker on this question.
I have to agree with most that have already talked up here about the internet. That for sure is the number one thing, because without that, how can we increase business and put the word out there? Also, if we don't have the housing, if we don't have the daycare, there again, how are we going to do that? But what we are doing is reaching out to other communities, reaching out to other places, you know, like with the ATV club, the dirt bike club, going to, you know, over to Alberta to say, hey, you know, we're going to put up a contest, and you can win, and you can come to our community and you can see, you know, what we're all about, what we offer. There again, this is something that's going to take time. There's no solution to say, hey, we can do this right now. So if we work together as a community and we all work together as a team, I think we can probably start going in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry, folks. So I have one more question to ask, and then we'll go into closing remarks. So the question came, I just have one question that was brought to us, which is around recruiting and retention for your village office, for your staff. So it was a comment that you all made, and so the question was, what are you going to do going forward to assure your residents that you're recruiting and retaining staff in those key positions within your senior management team? Thank you. Who'd like to start? Don, why don't we start on this end? 2 minutes.
Employment, we got lots of issues over, and it's not just at Tumbler Ridge, it's everywhere. But keeping people in our town office and in our public works and all that, we got to be, I'm going to say treating better, but it's just, as residents, like, this is a small town. Every time I see somebody that's sitting in a truck with a TR on the side of it, I get a wave. You know, if they're picking up the garbage and that, you talk to them in the morning, and it's just a nice thing with this town. And this town's small enough. It's the thing I love about this town. It's small enough that these things are really important. And I think the biggest thing to get is a CAO that can work with. That's his job, or her job, or their job, to bring staff into to the district and that. And you got to have a CEO with some vision and a want to do this job and do it right. And I've worked with a lot of CAOs. I've worked with a few good ones. And the first one I worked with was really good. The last one I worked with was really good. So the ones in between, I'm not saying they're all bad, but they could use some improvement. But I think that's the most important thing about hiring staff, is we need a CEO that fits this town.
Yeah, I'd agree that we need a strong CAO in office. That's the only staff person that council gets. We have to channel everything through the CAO. So we need a good CAO that's got great hiring practices, that knows the community charters, that knows everything that we have to deal with, so that we can be properly prepared when we're doing business.
Yeah, and I agree. Our job is to hire the CAO and then support the CAO on what they move forward with. And I think that's going to be the job of the next council. I mean, I'm asking for support from the residents of Tumbler Ridge to vote me for mayor. Again, I want to be part of the hiring process. I've been on council for 8 years. We've went through 3 CAOs. One actually gave notice and moved on to Vancouver Island. So there's 2 that this council, there's 2 that I've been through within the 8 years. It seems like it's a revolving door. Every 4 years or 5 years, a new CAO. And it doesn't just seem like it's Tumbler Ridge. I mean, I was just at the UBCM and had some conversations with CAOs, but also mayors and other councillors, and it just seems like a 4-year term in a community or a city is they move on. They've done what they've been asked to do by council, and that's they've fulfilled their job, and they move on to another community. Or, you know, Mr. Wall, I mean, he left the community for the sunshine of Vancouver Island. I mean, great, you know, he was a great CAO, and, you know, we've got to go through the hiring process again. And again, I want to be part of that. And again, we need to be there to support the CAO as well. They hire the other staff. We don't really dictate what they hire or who they hire and where they put them, but we got to be there to support them. I mean, not just council, but the community.
I do have to agree with everybody when it comes to the CAO. We need good leadership, we need good management, and finding the good person to fill that spot and to hire the people that we need. I'm not sure how we're going to do that, but we will support. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Who's going to argue with you need a good high-end administrator? I'm obviously not going to argue with that. I think we need to expand it a little bit. We are a small town, and we do have an issue with having people in place. I don't know if it's within our power or not, but something like a deputized or part-time person that also is developing the skill set, so that when we do lose somebody, we at least have a temporary cover if that person isn't right or doesn't want the full time. It just seems to be happening as a regular thing. If we lose 2 people in an area, we're all of a sudden completely short-staffed and don't know what to do. So I would like to see a little redundancy on some of these critical positions. Thanks.
So, hiring a CAO is one of the most important things that we're going to have to do in this upcoming term, and that's going to be first on the plate for this council. So, I believe I have some experience. I've seen 2 CAOs operate. I've seen an interim CAO operate in my role as a councillor, and I've also watched Mr. Elliott when I was in the gallery for a few years. I think if you look at the positions that have been leaving, I think they've been close to council. I think there is a reason for that. I think that, you know, as council, we are leaders of the organization. We need to set an example for the culture that we want to grow in our community. And, you know, we need to have a culture of appreciation. We need to support our staff. We need to listen to them when they tell us what they need. But at the same time, we are elected officials to represent the needs of our community. So there's that tension that we have, right? Like, we have to advocate for our staff, we have to support them in what they need, but also, as leaders, we need to tell them what our community needs. And that's sometimes a tricky situation. So like, there's a relationship that we all have to play in this, in this organization. And we're all a team. That's the thing that I really believe in. I don't believe it's us versus them. We're all a team, and we all have our roles to play. Our role is to set vision, policy, and be the voice for our community, and they're the ones who have to carry out those needs for our community. So I believe that we should always develop from within when capable, and if we can't, we need to bring in the professionals to do it. Yeah.
Well, like I said before, I've worked under 4 CAOs and some interim CAOs, and I worked mostly directly with the CAO during my tenure here. So I understand what they have to do. They're in charge of the town. They run the whole town, and it's up to council to give them direction. And the thing is that we haven't been able to solve that problem. There's always some friction between one or the other, and the CAO is let go, or they just get out of Dodge. Anyway, I just don't see a solution to it. Some communities, CAOs have been there for 30 years. Why is that? Because they work with council, they get along with council. And council works with them and listens to what they have to say too. It's not because you get elected to be a councillor or a mayor that you got control over everything the CAO has to offer. And I think we have to change that type of thing that's gone on here in the past. Right now, probably haven't got anybody interested in the CAO job in here in Tumbler Ridge, because they know that in a couple of years they'll get fired. So what are we going to do about it? You know? Are we going to... Thank you.
Thanks for telling us like it is. That's right. So for me, I agree with everybody. The council gets to hire the CAO, but the council gets to hire the CAO. It is council's job, though, to set the tone. And it's council's job, like Ken said, about getting along with your CAO and listening to your CAO. And then you also have to make a condition so that you're talking to the people with boots on the ground. I don't know anything about water. I don't know stuff about infrastructure. I don't know about paving potholes. So it would be ridiculous for me to try and set policy without getting that information back from folks. And I think that that's an important part of when you're on council, to be aware of what you don't know and get the information about the things that you need to know before you make some of those decisions. I think that I would agree with Dawn. We have amazing staff in town. Like, you get a wave, you get a smile. If you don't have a good, healthy work environment, though, it's tough to be the person that waves and it's tough to be the person that smiles. I think that everybody does the best that they can. But I don't know, because I don't work at Town Hall. I don't work at the community center. And so I think it's important for me, my goal would be to be curious and to have the conversations with the CAO when you see things that are going awry or you're hearing stories. I don't think it's my job to annoy the CAO every day because I heard something happened over here or something happened over there. But I think it's something that has to be on a schedule, or maybe, I say this not having been on a council, but I don't think it's unrealistic to believe that maybe we have a conversation every year and ask about how our employees are doing. What does that look like? Do we have a report about how much turnover we have? And of course, there's recruitment and retention and daycare. Thank you.
So I fibbed a little bit. We have one last question. We are going to ask our candidates to respond within 1 minute, please, because we're going to try and wrap up on time. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. I want to say thank you for all of you to sit up there tonight. It's a tough job. I've been there, and it's really tough. You're getting questions thrown at you you don't know the answers to, or you could try to fib it. Doesn't make you look good. I've been there, so I commend you. Thank you. I'm also going to ask you one question tonight that you're probably not going to answer. So it'll make you hopefully feel better, because I guarantee you nobody in this room will be able to answer it. So Ron touched on it. Work-lifestyle balance. We're seeing a lot of young families come into the community, getting away from the bigger cities just because it's cheaper to live here, tax rates are lower, they can have a better lifestyle with their families without having a high mortgage. You've all spoke about tourism, but you didn't elaborate on what would be a good new thing for the community, an economic driver. So my question is, what number one economic driver in BC is in tourism, related to tourism, is the number one economic driver in British Columbia right now? It has been for the last 5 years, steadily growing.
Thank you. Roxanne, go ahead. 1 minute.
Is it mountain biking? And I'm not surprised. And we're really fortunate to have a from the ground up happening right here in our town. I see the bike park going great guns. It's beautiful, and they've done the things that they can, and this council has supported that. And tourism is to me, tourism is important, not just because that's what my family does, but because we have the landscapes and the pieces here. Again, the problem, in my opinion, or the challenge is to show people that Tumbler Ridge is a viable place to come and spend your money, to invest your money, rather, because people are scared. That's the number one thing I get from questions, but what about? So, thanks, Curtis. And I'm glad I was right.
Well, I'm really surprised that nobody has decided to bottle this stuff here, because I think that there's money to be made here, and it's a hell of a good business. I know I drink about 45 of these a week, so but there's lots of different businesses you could start here, and I got to give it to Curtis for what he's done here. He's opened his own business, and he's done well. And he's also got involved with this bike situation, and it's really good. So, pass it on to you.
Roxanne beat me to the bunch. I was gonna guess mountain biking because it came from Curtis. But to build on that, adventure tourism, huge. Like, I mean, I think everyone knows when you drive to Dawson on a Saturday in the wintertime, all you see is trucks with sleds coming into town. Right? Adventure tourism is huge in our community, and the same thing happens in the summertime. People are coming, they're visiting our trails. Hopefully we can continue that momentum of mountain biking to continue to attract people to our community. But the trick is how can we tie those visits to our local economy? Right, because it's nice that they come to our trails, they go sledding, they go mountain biking. How do we get them into our downtown core? I know that the Geopark has a mobile exhibit. I think we need to find interesting ways to funnel those people into town so that we can generate something for our local community off of that adventure tourism.
Thank you. I'll admit I wouldn't have got that right. I think there's just a ton of opportunity, and as you said, it's just getting them here. The Empire half marathon is a great example. I would not expect to mirror that success so quickly, but if you have just an off-road event, try to draw people in for a single day, that they bring their four-wheelers and they have somewhere to drive over, and then they can go to the various restaurants and stay at the various hotels. That's one way to go, just a single one-off event just to start getting people here. And the other thing we have is a nice hotel with a conference center that I think that promoting anything, honestly, it doesn't really matter what the conference is about because they're coming for the conference and they can stay for the scenery. This is a nice place to visit. I don't think anybody here is going to argue with that. There's something for just about everybody unless you just want to sit behind a computer and play on a multi-gig connection. That's the only thing we can't offer you here.
We have such a beautiful backyard here. And I agree. How do we get the people here? What else can we do? And advertising is a huge, huge thing. And we do a lot of that, for sure. I think also, I never would have guessed the mountain biking either. But I know there's the bike park here, there's those beautiful trails, the waterfalls. I mean, the waterfalls are just gorgeous. So I think building on those things that we have and creating more, offering a bit more, I guess, somehow would be wonderful. So, thank you.
Yeah, Curtis, I think I might have guessed that it was the mountain biking, but Roxanne beat us to it. The thing about the mountain biking too, and the pump truck that was built by volunteers on a board, to me, it's not just for tourism; it's for our local residents. Like, that's the aspect of that. It's for our local residents. Sorry, I've done the downhill mountain bike and probably won't do that one. Pump track might be able to hit that up, but it's for our residents. That's what I like about it the most too. Like, yeah, we want to attract those people come into our community from the East region and further away, but it's actually for our own youth, our own adults, seniors. Like, I was at Whistler and they had the bike school there. There's lots of people he and haw and should be. I'm like, well, there's a bike school there. It's got to be safe. And one guy actually went and did it. He was 72 years old. I met up with him the next day, and he said it was wicked. So, maybe you're going to do a bike school. You mentioned earlier work-life balance, and I'm not sure if that was to partake into your mountain biking or if it came from a staff side. But if it's from a staff side, Curtis, I'm not sure if you finished it or not, but if it is from the staff side, I think that's something that's got to be looked at. Not only, are you seeing it in healthcare? In regards to all medical fields, BCM, it's doctors, nurses.
Thanks for your question, Curtis. We had spoke about mountain biking and how it's a big passion of yours. Our tourism is amazing. Luana was correct in saying advertising. I'm from the Lower Mainland, from Surrey, and it took my whole adult life to find out that Tumbler Ridge existed. And when I found out that Tumbler Ridge existed, it was like a sanctuary that I could never leave. This is going to be a place that I call home for the rest of my life. My daughter has the fortune of growing up in this beautiful community, and I'd like for all of us to be able to work together to maintain this community and make it great for future generations.
Well, I like to think, and two of the people are sitting right in the front seats there, the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society. I mean, a lot of these trails that the mountain bikes are on are made by you people. And the work that you put in early Tumbler Ridge, it was just amazing. And things like the Emperor Challenge, that's why that's there. And I just got to thank the Wolverine Nordic Mountain Society for all you guys do. And the other thing is, I'm a riverboater. I guess you've probably all seen it spurging out onto our river, our road out there where people, when the trucks won't fit in there anymore. But all those guys spend a lot of money in this town because you don't like pulling a boat that's full of gas and stuff like that. So anyway, okay, thank you.
So thank you so much. We are down to closing remarks. So we'll start with Roxanne. 1 minute, please. And then Jerry Lynn will do closing remarks, and we can mingle a bit. Thank you.
So I'm really passionate about Tumbler Ridge. I don't know if that came through tonight or not, but I am, because of how my family's been able to grow here. I also believe that we have some great, it's just a great place to live. And I'd like to also echo what Dawn said. We wouldn't be where we are without nonprofits. We do see a decrease in our volunteerism, but I think it's because we've burned them out. And so I think that council has a role there to play as well. And I guess I sit up here and I want to be part of continuing to make Tumbler Ridge a great place to be. So I really hope to have your vote. And thank you all so much for coming out, and thank you to Kathleen and Jerry Lynn tonight.
Oh. Yes, living in Tumbler Ridge is just a fantastic thing. I would never go anywhere else, and I want to continue to support everything that goes on in Tumbler, and make sure that everybody else enjoys themselves and has a place to live and all that. So, anyway, we have a lot of things that we have to do if we get voted in for council. But if you don't vote for me, well, at least vote for these people. Right? So, anyway, thanks a lot.
You know, I always get really nervous when I come to these sort of things because, like, oh, I don't know what to say. I'm going to get nervous. But, you know, what I love about Tumbler Ridge is that, you know, we know each other. Like, I'm so thankful that I know everyone here. And I want to keep Tumbler Ridge an amazing community. I think we have a lot to offer that other communities don't. I want to keep this community a great place for us to live in and grow our children and grow old together. I owe a lot to Tumbler Ridge. I owe my career, my family, not my wife. She came with me. But I mean, and I want to pay that back because Tumbler Ridge has given me so much that I think it can give everybody so much, and it has. You know, I like to solve problems. So whenever there's an issue that comes up, I always like to think of it as a mystery, and how can we solve that problem and issue? And I think the best way to do that is by talking to people, finding people that know more than I do to come up with solutions. Because talk to me after.
All right, so echo some Chris there. Do talk to me after, please. In short, though, the quality of life here is amazing. Like, moving from a city to here to give my 9-year-old the life that my wife imagined for her is just not something we expected to be able to do. So that's just paying it forward is what I want to do. I'm here for you guys. I really appreciate the turnout tonight. I found out that 57% of this town voted in a local election. That is, it may not sound all that great, but that is an amazing number. This community's involved. I haven't mentioned it earlier, but I would like to mention now the volunteer aspect is important. It's something my wife and I try to do, maybe not as often as we should, but we do that. And I would like to help that continue, and I would appreciate your support because I am here for you guys. If you want me, I'm here.
First off, I'd like to say thank you to the Chamber of Commerce. And I'd also like to say thank you to my family for the support and encouragement that they've given me to run for town council. I'm a very open, honest person. I'm very approachable as well. I love to talk to people. I love to listen to stories. I like to hear the problems. And I like to come up with solutions as well. It takes a village. And I want to be part of that village. It is beautiful here, and I cannot see myself anywhere else. I mean, coming to Tumbler Ridge has been a beautiful opener for me and my family. Coming from a big city, you know, you don't always go out, fit in with people, or people don't say hi. And here it's just so welcoming. It's so warm, and it's so caring. So thank you very much.
I'm going to stretch my legs. Again, thanks to the Chamber. I mean, most people know me. I've been here 15 years. When we first moved here, we always talked about actually moving back to the island where I'm from. I'll be honest, I'm never moving from Tumbler. Tumbler Ridge is home. It's an amazing place. I'd love you to support me to be mayor. All I want to do is work for you as the taxpayers, us as family. Like, to me, we always look out for each other. We see it on the streets. People in backyards, somebody's calling you, there's somebody back there. So I'm looking for support. I want to really move Tumbler Ridge forward and have that voice. I mean, you have a voice as a councillor. It is different as a mayor. You know, you're speaking on behalf of the district from the council side to the provincial government, federal government, and CAO. So I really hope I can get support from Tumbler Ridge to move Tumbler Ridge forward and in a good direction. And again, to me, we're like family. We always look out for each other. And volunteerism has been built. Tumbler Ridge was built by that. There is no question. And I think there's things we can do on that. I got 1 minute. 1 second, I guess. Oh, yeah, you got 1 second.
Thank you very much for hosting us tonight, and thank you everybody for coming out. For most of you, this is the first time you've ever met me, seen me, maybe around town. I've been here for over a year, and I came from Surrey. Surrey was nothing but gang violence and unsafe environment for our children. Here we moved, and it's been the best community that we've ever set foot in, and it's a place that I'm going to call home forever. I would greatly appreciate your support running for mayor because I'm going to be working for you guys. I don't have any vested interests in the town. I don't have any businesses. I don't own multiple buildings. I own the one building that I live in, and I work for you guys. How much time do I have? So I just wanted to mention is that Daryl has been on council for 8 years, and my friend over here, Don, has also been mayor. I have not been any of those two things, but I guarantee I'll work for you, I'll work hard for you, and I'll be the best mayor I can be.
Like I said, I was a young man when I came here, and the closest thing I got to a conflict, I think, on council is redoing the graveyard or the cemetery, because I plan on spending some time there, and not for a long time, but that's where I plan on ending up. But anyway, thanks for coming out. I really appreciate it. Thanks, ladies, and Trent. It's been awesome.
Thank you, everybody, Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. It's been great to see our numbers. We had over 30 online watching this tonight live, and there's over 40, and there's 60-ish around here. So that's a really good turnout. Oh, never mind. No. So that's a really good turnout for a community the size of Tumbler Ridge, and it really goes to show how vested this community is in their mayor and council, and that you realize how important that position or those positions are going to be. You're going to have a tough choice. 3 for mayor, you get to choose 1. You've got 7 for council, 5 of whom are here tonight, and you get to choose 6. So you've heard what people had to say, and now you can make your choice. I just want to take a moment to thank the people who came out to help tonight. Trent has been here since, I don't know, probably 3, and Aaron as well, setting up sound, trying to make sure all the cameras were in place so people that are watching online can view it live, and people that couldn't view it tonight because of work schedules can go and click on the link later on and watch it. So there's that option to watch it again later. Thank you, Trent and Aaron. Sure appreciate it. Without you guys, this couldn't have happened. And Miss Kathleen, my dear friend, drove all the way out here from Dawson to take part in this, and she's not getting paid for this. Oh, did you know that? What? She drove all the way out here from Dawson Creek to be the moderator for this. So thank you, Miss Kathleen. And then somebody who you can't see is Naomi Larson, who is the executive director of the Chetwynd Chamber of Commerce. She couldn't make it today because she's sick, but she was going to come and co-moderate. What ended up happening is that she kind of, in a way, did co-moderate, because she was letting me know any problems that were on the live feed, so I was in communication, and thank you, Naomi, for that.
Wait. Thank you to the Chamber of Commerce and your hard work. We wouldn't have had an all candidates forum without you, so thank you guys so much for that.
Thank you. So I don't know if you're aware, just one more really quick thing. The Chamber of Commerce has applied for a grant for $250,000 to open a shared workspace, because in the past we've lost things like lawyers, accountants, and different people who just don't have an office in the community. So what we would do is bring them in. We are currently in the process of trying to find an extra one, probably about $60,000, because if we can find that money, then the funder has already said they're very sure that they will fund us. So if anybody has any great ideas about where we can come out, or a lot of cash if you're sitting on a bank roll, let me know. We would like to find some permanent people to rent space there, and we would like to have the rest of it open for our home-based businesses and for businesses who are organizations that would like to come into the community and be a part of our community. And that's all. Oh, no, one more thing. These guys are going to stick around for a little while, I think. So what it's going to be called now from this point on is no longer the All Candidates Forum. It's going to be called Candidating. It's sort of like speed dating, but it's with our candidates. So enjoy, and thank you for coming out.